Pesachim, Amud Yomi, Dirshu Chavzayin, Amud Bet. Yesterday we said a concept that there is what's called me'ilah. Me'ilah means misappropriating usage of something owned by the Bet Mikdash. Let's say you break it, you buy it. If you break something in the Bet Mikdash, the cup is here for the Bet Mikdash. You ruined it, you chipped it, you own it. It goes to Chulin. And you're going to pay the value plus 20% plus bring a korban. As soon as you ruin it, you own it. A korban Hashem, if I'm not mistaken. Okay? Now the Gemara questions that. And as soon as you burn it, even we said yesterday, as soon as you start burning something, let's say you have firewood, that the firewood is used for the Beit HaMikdash, and you take it and you're going to make your barbecue. You light the firewood, as soon as it singes a little bit, you own it. It's not anymore owned by the Beit HaMikdash. That's the general rule, and here we're going to see exception to that rule. So we're in Chavzayin Amud Bet. First word in the line is Nafka Lechunin, near the Tosfot Hekdesh, about 15, 12 lines, 13 lines down. Nafka Lechunin dots. Right on time, John. Any time that a person did me'ilah, he misappropriated the usage of something in the Beit Mikdash. Does it now become mundane? It's not owned anymore the Beit Mikdash. Vatanya, we have a braita contradicting this. Kona nisrafin afaran mutar. Anything that you burn, in general, the ashes are mutar. If it was asur, now you burn it, the ashes are okay. If you have chametz and you burn it, it becomes ashes, you're allowed to use it. Except, chutz me'atzeh asherah. The wood of avodah zarah, it's so strict avodah zarah, there's no benefit even from the ashes. Ve'afilu ve'efer hegdesh. And also we see over here the ashes of something which is hegdesh, something owned by the Beit Mikdash. So yesterday we said as soon as you burn something, it's not anymore owned by the Beit Mikdash, you can use it. And here we have a braita saying the exact opposite. You burn something for Efer of Hegdesh, something that's Hegdesh, you burnt it, now it's off your limits, you can't use it anymore. So the Gemara answers, Leolam Asu. Hegdesh Leolam Asu. And the Efer of the Hegdesh is always Asu. Amar Rami Bachama, Kegon Shenafla Deleka Me'eleya Be'atze Hegdesh. Deleka Inish De Nimon. So let's say the fire happened on its own. We said when you burn something, it's me'ilah. If you take the firewood and you burn it, you did an avera, and now it goes out of the ownership of the Beit Mikdash. You bought it because you broke it. You bought it. But if something falls off the shelf in the store on its own because of an earthquake, nobody bought it. So if some fire happened out of the nowhere, some lightning came and hit the wood of the Beit Mikdash and started to burn on its own, it's still asur. It's still hekdesh because nobody did the avera to buy it. Nobody did it on its own. So that's the first answer. Second answer. Actually, we're talking here about nothing regular, not the regular firewood. We're talking about something that's ta'un gniza, something that the Torah specifically says it's off limits even after it becomes ashes. And what is that? That's trumat adeshin. We thought that we're talking about here regular things that you burn. It's actually not that. We're talking about Tumat Adeshin. What is Tumat Adeshin? Every day the Beit HaMikdash was used at nights to burn all the leftover things. That's from all the leftover korbanot, the pieces. We'd put them in a big fire overnight on the Beit HaMikdash. In the morning, all the ashes over there, the pasuk says that you got to go take those ashes. It's called Tumat Adeshin. You got to take them in a shovel. And it says Visamu. And you got to place them. So there's an extra word if you want to look at Torah over here. It is in pasuk Aleph. In Torah, but Avasha kon mido bad. So he wears his garments, umichnaso bad, yidbash adesero, v'hirim et adeshen, and he will pick up the ashes. Asher tochal ha'esh, that the fire burnt them up. Et ha'olad mizbeach, v'samo et ser mizbeach. The word v'samo here is superfluous, it's extra, it's not needed. And so therefore the word samo means that these ashes, we're going to learn three things. Let's read the Gemara. Samo benachat. Samo means lightly. Samu, don't throw it. You shovel the snow, you throw the snow. You shovel the ashes, samu. Place it down properly. You got to place it next to the bed. There's a pile. There's a little pile of ashes over there. Samu kulon. Samu is also representing all in its entirety. You can't pour a little bit over here, a little bit over here. You got to put them all together. Samo. Samo means put all of it together. And lastly, what is samo shelo yifazer. And samo that it should also
Not scattered.
It should not scatter afterwards. So therefore, these ashes, even though ashes usually are nothing, these are different ashes. The ashes, these ones are off limits. So our rule is really the same rule. If you have firewood that a person burned them, they go out of the ownership of the Beit Mikdash. The person himself owns them. He's called Mo'en. He did Me'ilah. He has to make korban. He has to pay. And there's when the Braita said that some you can't use. By the way, if you broke it, you buy it. Do whatever you want with it. So you broke the cup. It's a broken cup. Okay, do whatever you want with the cup. Go home and use it. It left the ownership of the Beit Mikdash. Do what you want. The ashes that we spoke about in the Braita is just something else. It's called Trumat HaDeshem. The leftover ashes. It's not when you burn something. When it was burnt on the Beit Mikdash, first answer.
What do we do with those ashes?
Nothing. They stay there. I don't know what happened.
What do they accumulate?
Yeah, that's what we're saying. They get like absorbed by the ground.
Absorbed by the ground.
Yeah, it's not so much.
The sanctity endures, it says.
It's what?
The sanctity endures even when it's just sitting there, so you can't benefit from it.
Okay.
Okay. Now we said in our Mishnah when he started this peg, we said in Mishnah, we said now we're going back to chametz. How do you get rid of the chametz? Right. All this we're speaking about burning chametz. We just did about 7 pages over here, 5-6 pages, which is about 10 shiurim of we have to burn the chametz. What about truma? What about kodshim? What about atuma v'tara? That's where we got to right now. So now we're talking about going back to burning the chametz, getting rid of the chametz. And Rabbi Yehuda said on Erev Pesach on the 14th, you got to burn and biur chametz el srifa. You can the only way to get rid of it, according to Rabbi Yehuda, is burning. Where does Rabbi Yehuda learn that from? That's what we're going to address right now. And the Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Yehuda and biur chametz el srifa. The only way you can get rid of it is by burning it. How do you know? Ve'adin noten. So there's a few ways of learning things in the Torah. One is called kal v'chomer. Kal v'chomer is if I see something that is very strict over here, if I see something which is not so strict, the Torah is not so strict on it, still we need to burn it. Something that's very strict, like chametz b'pesach, for sure you need to burn it. That's going to be kal v'chomer. That's one way we're going to learn. It's not going to work, the kal v'chomer. Then we're going to try to do a different kal v'chomer. Then we're going to do what's called a hekesh. A hekesh is like, or mamatzinu. It's not a kal v'chomer. It's just the same. The same way this has certain qualifications. Well, we find them over here, so it must be the same. We'll see as we go. So the Gemara says vadinu. Vadin means a kal v'chomer. Vadin noten. It makes sense. Ma notar. Notar is extra korbanos that have been brought. When you bring a korban, it has a certain expiration date. It can only be eaten for the first day or two. So after that allotted period for every different type of korban, it's called notar. It's extra. It's leftover. Motar, extra. So what do you do with that, with the notar? We learned the halacha always that notar doesn't have the halacha of bad yirayeh. Meaning you're allowed to have notar. On the day where you have to burn it, it's allowed to be here. There's no isser to see it. There's no isser to own it. You're allowed to own it, just can't eat it and burn it. And chametz, and the way you get rid of the notar is by burning it. Chametz she'eshno b'bani rei b'bani matzeh. Chametz, you're allowed to own it, can't see it. So for sure, kol sheken she'taon tzrifa, kol sheken. If we saw that notar is not so strict, we got to burn it. So chametz, which is more strict, for sure you got to burn it.
But that's a kesh.
That's a kol sheken.
It's not a cash, this one?
No,
because
not
if
yet.
You understand, if you understand that notar is doesn't have barrier matzeh and chametz have barrier matzeh.
Hekesh is we have not found similarities in them. There's no similar. Hekesh is I find the similarity here. Hekesh is a pasuk, okay? Hekesh is mamatzinu is we found similarity. Kal v'chomer is there's no similarity. There's no similarity to it, but this is already a less stringent halacha, and still we have to burn it. So this is a more stringent halacha because it's badiran, so you got to burn it. So here we're trying with the kal v'chomer. It doesn't work. Yeah, you're trying. We know that chametz is more machmir, but your chumra is going to bring out a kula. Your stringency is going to bring out a leniency. So it doesn't work. How? Because what you're trying to do is making it more lenient. No matzah, for example, is sofo. Yeah, you're shev bater. You tell me you got to burn it, and if I don't have fire, so I'm going to keep the chametz. The Torah says get rid of the chametz. Okay, there's no pasuk in the Torah that says you got to burn it. The pasuk says get rid of it. Clear? So if the pasuk says get rid of it, and you tell me the only way I can get rid of it is burning it. What if I have no matches? I'm here on the boat, and there's no lighter, there's no matches here, so I'm not going to burn it. I'm not going to throw it over the river.
Because it says something from the top.
So your chumra is coming out of kula. Then we stuck with chametz.
But when do they compare the two? Because based on the commentary, it says if you chametz, you cannot pass the allotted time, right? After a point in time, you have to make sure it's all destroyed. But here it's saying that if you pass the time for notar, you can still possess it.
That's exactly what I'm saying. So that's showing that it's less lenient. That's body. So that's if.
But why would they compare the two?
It's not. It's comparing. If how can I explain it to you? We see that the Torah is. Listen, yeah, it's a kal v'chomer. If we see that the Torah is much less stringent on this, I'm much more lenient when it comes to notar. What's the proof? Keep it a day or two extra. Just when you get rid of it, make sure you burn it. So if I can pass the due dates and I'm allowed to keep it around, it's valid for these 2 days. And the third, fourth day, I'm allowed to have it. Chametz is valid for 355 days a year. For the last 10 days of the year, last 7 days of the year, you can't have it. So I'm passing the due date. And when I pass the due date, I'm not allowed to own it. If I own it, it's issue. Right. So if the Torah is already, you see that it's more lenient when it comes to notar, still you got to burn it. How much more so when it comes to chametz, you should have to burn it.
No, you have to burn it at a specific time. But if you pass that time...
Forget about burning a specific time. Yes, you have to burn a specific time.
Right.
But how do you get rid of it?
No, but if you pass that time and you didn't burn it, you can still possess it.
What? Notar?
The notar.
No. There's no specific time to burn it.
It says...
No. There's no specific time to burn it. There's the specific time to not eat it. You can eat it. You can eat it day 1, day 2. You can't eat it day 3.
Okay.
If you want to keep it in your cupboard and keep it till day 10 and then do whatever you want. But make sure when you get rid of it, you burn it. You can't use it for fertilizer. Okay? So the chametz, the same thing.
So I can keep it, but I cannot benefit from it?
No.
You don't have any sud or right of owning it from it. You can't have hana.
So it's the issue is only to own it, not to...
No, the issue is to eat it. But you can benefit as well. And when you got rid of it, but you're allowed to hang it around. The chametz, you can't hang it around. Right. So if chametz, you're not allowed to hang, it can't hang around, then you... So how do you get rid of it? Well, for sure you got to burn it. If that's more lenient, you got to burn. This is more strict, you got to burn it. The Gemara says it's not true, because now your chumrah is bringing a kula. You want it to be makmir, but you're actually making it more lenient. Because if I don't have firewood, so I'm not going to burn it. So don't give me a chumrah, which is going to come out of kula. The Gemara
I don't get that part.
Because you don't have to, well, you have to get rid of it. But it doesn't, burning for sure you should, but if you don't burn it, what are you going to do? You're not going to do it? You can't.
He's saying, right, the Torah says you got to get rid of it.
Yes.
Torah says you can't have it.
Put
Okay, now
bleach or whatever.
you're adding in Rabbi Yehuda, the only way I can get rid of it is burning it. If I can't burn it, so I have to keep it. So the chumah you gave me is coming out of leniency.
Yeah, no, because I was going to say, you said the same thing for notar. What if I don't have any matches?
So wait until you
can
find
keep it. But
Yes.
But you
Here I have a
burn it.
deadline.
Yeah.
Eventually you have to burn it.
So the Gemara is
Until
going
you
to
find
try. The way it's explained over here is going to try another kal v'chomer. So the truth is, this kula thing coming out, it's not necessarily so strong. Just Chachamim didn't accept it and pushed away with some answer. He's going to try another kal v'chomer. So the Gemara says, Chazar v'Yehuda v'dan din acher. Oh yeah, I'm going to give you a better kal v'chomer. And we really need, if we had time for Iyun, we'd understand how this works. But we're going in BQs. Ma notar asur b'achila v'chametz asur b'achila. So let's give more comparisons. Notar, you understand, Yosef, you with me? Notar is a korban, you can't eat it after day 2, day 3. Okay? And chametz is asur b'achila. Ma notar b'sreifa, av chametz b'sreifa. Okay, I found over here, a mamatzinu. The same way over there that you can't eat it. Here you can't eat it as well. There you can't, you're gonna burn it. Here you gotta burn it. The Gemara says, not true. I have things that you're not allowed to eat. You don't have to burn them. What is nevela? A dead animal. You don't have to burn it. You can do whatever you want with it. Shasura b'achila v'netuah l'srifa. Amru lo amar lan hefresh. Nah, it's different. Don't learn for nevela. Nevela is different. Notar asur b'achila or b'ana. Hametz asur b'achila b'ana. You know that nevela is not asur b'ana. So I'm trying to learn from notar because notar is hana'ah and achila. Chametz is hana'ah and achila. No benefit and no eating. Nevila, you're allowed to eat. So I'm not learning from nevila. I'm learning from notar. That's very similar. It's mamatzinu. Ma notar to en srifa. Chametz to en srifa. Amru lo shoah niskad yochiach. No, I have something else which is asur me'hana'ah and you can't eat it and you don't need to burn it. Shal shoah niskad. The murderous animal. The animal that we have to put down because it killed the person. We got to kill that animal. So it's shoah niskad yochiach. Shasur b'achila b'ana v'netun srifa. You can't eat it. You can't eat it. You can't benefit, and it doesn't need to burn. Amru lo hefresh. No, it's different. Notar asur b'achila b'ana. And onesh karet. No, I'm going from notar because it's a karet, and the shoah niskad is not a karet. As
Chametz is karet.
Chametz is karet. Notar asur b'achila b'ana v'onesh karet. Chametz asur b'achila b'ana v'onesh karet. So it's similar in 3 ways. Ma notar b'srifa, oh yeah, ma notar b'srifa, v'chametz b'srifa, amru lo chadbo shel shoah niskan yuchiach. No, I'll find you something else to prove you that it's not true. Shoah niskan, there's the cherev of it. You know, the fats that are non-kosher are karet actually. So the sholan niskan is asur be'ana. The fat of the sholan niskan asur be'ana, asur be'achila, and it is a karet, and you don't need to burn it. That's what it says. Asur be'achila be'ana v'shkaret ben taun tzrefa. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda said you got me here. Hazar Rabbi Yehuda b'dan din acher. Notar yeshno bebat totiru v'chametz bebat totiru. Now we're going to do a mamatzinu. We see that there is a funny that he's saying here now that there is even bad yira'eh bat totiru. Again, hazar Rabbi Yehuda b'dan din acher. Notar yeshno bebat totiru. So notar, you can't leave it over, right? You can't leave it over. Don't leave it over.
No,
You can, you just can eat it.
Go to the room and that book here. When I talk about book here.
You can't. I mean, you have to eat it at a certain time, but you can leave it over.
It's funny, huh? I'm reading the pasuk which says, "Lo totiru mimenu ad boker." Don't leave it over to the morning.
Yeah, but it means in order to eat it, to benefit from it. But if you pass the time, you can still keep it as long as you want.
Okay. Chametz bebat totiru, and chametz also has bat totiru. Lo yireh lo yimatzeh. So it's a sort of similarity here. You can't really leave it over to eat it, and the chametz, you're not supposed to keep it at all.
You cannot keep it. That's why I asked the question, because I don't see the comparison, because chametz you can't.
So the question is, it could be that there's a I need a biru. What is this lo totiru? Anyways, let's try to get through it, and I'm trying to. If you have something over there, you'll tell me. Ma notar b'schrefa chametz b'schrefa. So the same way notar, you got to burn chametz, you got to burn. So this is what's called asham talui in chatat ha'of. These are two sfekot. These are two korbanot that I brought when there was a suffix. Let's say you have two pieces of fat. One is kosher, one's not kosher. You ate one of them. You don't know which one you ate. So what's the halakha over here? You know, maybe a kosher, maybe non-kosher. You can't bring a chatat, because chatat only when you should do navira. There's a asham talui. I'm bringing a korban, maybe. You know, it's much harder to do tshuva on a maybe. Did I do an avira or not? Probably didn't do. Maybe you did. Maybe you do. It's hard to do tshuva. When you did a real avira, it's easy to do tshuva. You cry to Hashem. If you have so here you got to bring a suspended asham talui. It's suspended. It's gonna be kapara and atonement until I know really what happened. If I know that I didn't do an avira, I'm good. If I did an avira, if a person did an avira, he has to bring another korban, another chatat. Asham talui is when you're uncertain. Certain times you're certain, you got to bring an asham. You're guilty, and some is you're unsure if you're guilty.
But guilty I thought was chatat, no?
Yeah, there's small differences. I won't get into. I'm not sure about them right now, but there's small differences. Either way, there's another thing also when a woman gives birth to a stillbirth, and we wasn't sure if it was just a placenta or if it was a baby. So if it's a baby, she has to bring a korban. If it's not a baby, she doesn't bring a korban. So here she brings like a suspended one. We don't know what to do with it. Either ones, those things over there, you can't eat them because they're not. So, for example, this asham talui, nobody can, or this, you can't really eat them. You got to burn them. That's what it says here. Manotar b'schrefa b'chametz b'schra. Amnu asham talui v'chatat of habal safek divarech yuchiu. Shen b'bal totiru. You can't leave them over. Sorry. So you can't eat them. And one of them you can't eat. And either way, you can't leave them over. Shanu omrim b'schrefa. V'ata omer b'kvura. Very interesting. So Chachamim say that those you got to burn, and you, Rabbi Yehuda, actually say you have to burn them. You have to bury them. So we just went in Rabbi Yehuda's own opinion. So we are missing a little piece over here, but either way, what is coming out is that the asham. So Rabbi Yehuda wants to say the notar you got to burn, yeah. And since notar is anything that's notar batotiru, you got to burn. So we have a lo yirad matzeh. You can't leave over chametz. You have the korban that you can't leave over. Since you got to burn the korban, you got to burn the chametz. See, it's the same thing. No, it says I have something that you can't leave over, and you don't have to. We say you have to burn it, but you yourself, Rabbi, you don't have to burn it. You on the asham talui says you got to bury it. You're not allowed to burn it. So you yourself, what you're trying to prove us from your own logic, you disprove yourself. Here's something that, according to you can't leave over, and you got to bury it. So don't tell me that whatever can be left over needs to be burned. You and your own logic prove yourselves wrong. And the Gemara says, what happened to Rabbi Yehuda? Shatak Rabbi Yehuda. He remained silent. He had nothing what to say.
Accepted.
Like checkmate. That's called checkmate. Amar Rav Yosef, Hainu Damri Inshe. kafa dehata nagra begava nisrov haldela. The bowl that the bowl maker made, he burnt his lips, he burnt his tongue with some hot peppers, some hot mustard. You know, you made it and you burnt yourself. Amar Abaye, sadna desidna yativ madvil yadeh. Yativ. The one who makes the handcuffs for the feet, he gets locked up when they found that he's a stealer. The guy's making the handcuffs, and they found that he's a stealer, they put him in the handcuffs. It says, madvil yadeh mishtanem. He gets paid from the work of his hands. Meaning, what he
dug his own grave.
He dug his own grave. Rav Amar Geira Bigire Miktan. So the guy who makes the arrows, if he's in a war, he's going to get killed by the arrow that he made. Madvil Yadeh Mishtanem. He gets paid from the work of his hands, meaning he dug, like you said in English, his own grave. Rabbi Yehuda, from your svara, you proved yourself wrong. Us, we hold that notar is burning. But you hold it's k'vura. He had nothing what to say. Okay, now in our Mishnah we said, Chachamim disagree. By the way, that achaz not you don't get to burn chametz. Chachamim said, we're gonna go quickly, it's very quick right now. We're gonna get to the Mishnah because this is the real Amud of the day. Another few minutes, we're gonna get there. So in our Mishnah we said that you gotta burn the chametz according to Rabbi Yehuda. Chachamim said no. Chachamim say that you're mefazer v'zoreh. I want to read the exact language of the Mishnah, which was on Chaf Aleph. The Mishnah said, Chachamim omrim, af mefarer, you take the crumbs, you take the bread, you crumble it up, mefarer v'zoreh l'ruach. Go outside to the wind, it's a windy day, take your chametz and throw it in the wind. You don't got to burn it. Or, and then it says something interesting, or matil layam, or you throw it in the ocean. Okay, so what did it say? Crumble it and throw it in the air, throw it in the ocean. The Gemara has a question what that means. The Gemara says, Ibayanu, Echi kama mefarer v'zoreh l'ruach, u'mefarer u'matil layam. When we said, Chachamim said, you got to crumble it and throw it in the ocean. I got to get crumble it and throw it in the air. And when they said throw in the ocean, it's just an extension. You also crumble it and throw in the water. Niyam odilma mefarer v'zoreh l'ruach. Or maybe it's you crumble it and throw it into the air. Aban matil niyam bene. Just throw it in the ocean as is. I mean, for sure you got to crumble it up when you throw it in the air because we don't want anybody to find that chametz. You're just going to throw the chametz like that. Somebody's going to find it. Somebody's going to the street. Some kid's going to walk by. He's going to have a cookie, throw it into the street. Some kid's going to walk by. He's going to take the cookie. Maybe not a 4-year-old kid, but a 1-year-old kid will eat the cookie, right? Even you'd be surprised if there was no cameras, what people would do, huh? So, aval metiriyam, but if you throw it into the ocean, so that for sure you have to do. But when you throw it into the ocean, maybe you don't have to crumble it up. Bene, v'tnanami, by the way, we have a similar halacha. Gabi avodah zarah, ki agavna, Rabbi Yossi omer, shochek v'zoreh l'ruach. If you have avodah zarah and you got to get rid of it, you got to, shochek is a little bit more. You got to crush it down, grind it up, and you gotta throw it into the air. Or metil layam, or you throw it in the ocean. And we had the same question over there. You gotta crumble it up, whether you throw it in the air or whether you throw it in the ocean. Or you crumble it up and throw it into the air, or you just throw it into the ocean as is. So what do? When it comes to the water, the chametz, you gotta crumble it up and put it in the water. And when it comes to the avodah zarah, you need to crumble it up and put it in the water. We had both situations in chametz and in avodah zarah, and the Gemara is asking the question: what do we do with putting in the water in each case, whether it's chametz or whether it is avodah zarah? The Gemara says, Amar Rabba, mistabra avodah zarah deriyam melech kazda lo ba'ishrika. So actually, very interesting. In that same mission, what I just quoted to you, when it comes to avodah zarah, Chachamim say that really the real thing is over there. The Gemara says that you got to throw it into the Yam HaMelech, and you got to throw it into a place where nobody's going to come and have access to it. And so when you throw it, there's no boats in Yam HaMelech. No fish also. Yeah, like my joke. There's no fish in Yam HaMelech. So you throw it into the Yam HaMelech. Nobody's going to go take it over there. So Chachamim say just enough to throw it into the Yam HaMelech. When Rabbi Yossi said so. Even here, when we're talking about throwing the avodah zarah, really it's talking about throwing the Yam HaMelech. You got to put it in a place where nobody's going to have access. So when you throw it into Yam HaMelech, you don't need the ka'azda. Lo ba'ishrika. The Yam HaMelech ka'azda, lo ba'ishrika. Why does it not need shrika when it goes down the Yam HaMelech? Because I think the salt itself will do the job. I'm looking at Rashi.
Yeah, the salt will dissolve.
Does it say something over there? The salt will eventually dissolve it? Does that say that there?
Or it's going to make it unedible.
No, we're talking about avodah zarah, like a metal.
Avodah zarah,
Does it say so, John? Khan, does it say something there? For when you're throwing the avodah zarah and the Yam HaMelech, that according to Rabbi, you don't need to crush it up. Because it's going in Yam HaMelech, or maybe it just means that nobody's going over there. Chametz, the shar narot kazim, but chametz, you're throwing to every regular rigor by piru. You got to crumble it up. Because it's going to every real. Basically, what it's saying over here is the Gemara over there is basically saying that avodah zarah throw in a place where nobody goes. And when you're throwing it into the Yam HaMelech, nobody's going to go there, so you don't need to crush it up. Because there's no chashish that somebody's going to go take it. But chametz, you're throwing it to every little pond. You're throwing it so people are there, people might take it, so you got to crush it up. That was Shita de Rabba. Amar Rav Yosef ad Rabbi Chamistara. But the opposite. Avodah zarah de mamisa by shrika. No, I see that it's not true. It just says that the Yam HaMelech.
Why the Yam HaMelech?
Yeah.
Because
nobody's there.
If you throw it in a regular sea, there's boats that pass by,
exactly,
and they might be able to
exactly right.
In a Dead Sea, there's no one that passes
exactly.
by.
So,
but it floats in the Dead Sea.
Yeah, exactly. Huh? So for sure.
Yeah, so that's what he's saying. Even in the Dead Sea, you never know which guy's going there.
Yeah,
I remember.
No, he said that in the Dead Sea, usually there's no boats
okay.
But
nobody's
in the regular sea,
exactly. So that would make sense. Since you're throwing avodah zarah in the place where nobody's passing by. However, when it comes to chametz, you're throwing in a regular place, so people are there today. You got to crush it up. Rabbi Yosef says the opposite. When the avodah zarah, anyway, it's going to stay as is. So you got to crush it up before you throw it because it's going to stay intact. When you throw bread into any water, it's going to disintegrate. Shrika chametz the mamis. It's going to become, you throw water, leave it for a day. There's no more bread. Lo by piru. So this is the two opinions. One say you got to crush up bread because it's accessible, and one says you don't need to crush up bread because it's going to on its own become ruined. And one says avodah zarah you got to throw it in a place where nobody passes by, so you don't got to crush it up. And the other says no, you got to crush it up because at the end of the day it's still intact. You never know what's going to happen. If a wave comes or some guy's crazy enough to go in Yam HaMelech. I remember when I was 15, I went to Yam HaMelech, and nobody told me that if you have like a mosquito bite or a cut, you shouldn't go in. Oh, I yelled when I went, but some people were going in. They were going Yam HaMelech. People go in, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you have no cuts, you can go in, or it's also not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a lot of people with skin diseases go in.
Really?
Yeah, that's psoriasis.
And it helps.
Yeah.
All kind of diseases they come.
Painfully.
Okay. Tanik Abedei Rabba. Tanik Abedei Rabbi Yosef. So we have a Braita going like Rabba, one Braita going like Rabbi Yosef. Tanik Abedei Rabba Ayam Me'alech B'Midbar. So what according to Rabbi Yosef, the Rabba says you were in the desert. Mefarer v'zoreh ruach, crumble it up and throw it into the wind. Ayam Me'alech B'Sfina Mefarer u'mitir yam. So we have a Braita that's saying clearly, like Rabba says, when you're on the boat, crush it up and throw it in the ocean. You see that you need to crush it up. Tanyat Kavadei Rabbi Yosef. The problem, this is the Braita going Rabbi Yosef. If you're going in the desert and you have avodah zarah, crush it up and throw it in the wind. But if you're going in the boat, crush it up and throw it in the ocean. So a Braita that says like Rabbi Yosef, a Braita that says like Rabba. How do we reconcile this? Don't forget, Rabba says avodah zarah, you need to crush. You don't need to crush up. And Rabbi Yosef says chametz, you don't need to crush up. So now we have a problem because we have a Braita that says both you need to crush up. So there's a kushya on each one. So the Gemara is going to answer shrika kasha de Rama, piru kasha de Rabbi Yosef. So each one has a problem. Answers shrika de Rabba de kasha, not a problem for Rabba. Hali Yam HaMelech hali shar ne'arot. Rabba's going. We're going to tell Rabba, look, we have a guy that's going in the boat, and the Gemara says you have to crush it up and throw it in the ocean. So you're wrong, Rabba. Avodah you need to crush it up. 1 second. When you don't need to crush it up, what I said is in Yam HaMelech. Here it's talking about a regular ocean, a regular river. You got to crush up the avodah zarah. People are there. So that's not a kushya me. And the Gemara says, the Rabbi Yosef la kasha, habichite habenama. And Rabbi Yosef says, it says you have to crush up bread. That's not kushya me. You don't have, when I said you don't have to crush up bread, that's regular bread. But here it's talking about chametz. Chametz could also be kernels that are chametz. Kernels of wheat that could be chametz, and they're in a bag. So what it means is mifarer, you got to crush them up. It means you got to open up the bag and throw them together. Because if you leave them in the bag, then there's a chashash. He's going to see over there. He's going to find the bag. He's going to take them. He's going to eat them. But if you open up the bag and you spread it in the ocean, nobody's going to collect one piece by one piece. Let's just do the Mishnah. Hametz shenochi, very important halacha, happens all the time. This is really practical. A goy, hametz shenochi shabar al Pesach mutar b'ana. So if a goy owned chametz after Pesach, you can eat it. B'Yisrael asur b'ana, but a yid it's asur. If a Jew owned this chametz and he didn't burn it, didn't sell it after Pesach, can't eat it. Shenamar ban yireh lo yireh lichaseo. We'll see how the Gemara learns out from that. But either way, That's the halakha, by the way, for chametz. You don't need to burn it. When you throw it into the ocean, you don't need to crumble it. And the halakha is also that a goy is, you can allowed to buy goyish chametz after Pesach. So if you go to IGA, you're fine. You can buy anything you want. If you go to over here on the corner, and you want to buy something kosher, which you should not do because it's open on Shabbos, but they have things that are kosher from MK. Can't buy it. You can't buy their boxes of crackers that have MK on it, or because they didn't sell their chametz. So somebody doesn't sell their chametz, open a Pesach, their chametz is asur be'achila. So it's not so pashut. Leolam. And they got it. And there's stories of that. There's a guy who had it was a big business of like a lot of things, and he did shuvah. And they told him, listen, all this stuff you have is asur. He burnt it. He threw it out. You got to burn it. Everything is asur now. You can't own any chametz. So basically, in Chutz La'aretz, when you go into some gas station and you're buying anything, it doesn't matter when it was. But if it's from a Jewish store in Eretz Yisrael, you have much bigger problems. You go into some makolet, and by the way, some people there are doing funny things. There was a lot of stories like that where the guy says he's selling, he's there, nobody's looking, he has chametz on Pesach. They do. So that's why it's very important. In Eretz Yisrael, it's actually more tricky than the Chutz La'aretz. Buying fruits and buying from stores, it's much more machmir. The hechsherim, it's much more machmir. Here, actually, it's like one meat. It's one kashrus. It's actually very easy. When you get to bigger places, you're getting to bigger, and you get to Eretz Yisrael, where even the government's mechayev kashrut, which who's really checking that, it becomes much more problematic. So if you go to Eretz Yisrael, make sure you're informed about what you're buying. Chazak u'baruch.